Hello there, Josh here from Racing to Profit. Hopefully you can see me. I'll get rid of my face in a moment, but thought I'd say hello. So you knew the face behind the voice you're about to hear in this video, which I will try and keep snappy, but you may be aware I'm recording this on a Thursday, the 13th of May, 2021. And Matt Bisogno, who invented, owns, runs Geegeez.co.uk, and his excellent set of tools, Geegeez Gold, is releasing a special offer, I think, for this summer. Discounted summer ticket for the first 100 signups, but as always with this bit of kit, you can get 30 days for £1, I think, and he is doing a 30-day money-back guarantee for that special offer also. So I thought it may be useful, as I have been a Geegeez Gold user since he kind of created it and a reader of his blog for years. I thought I would just talk through kind of 3 or 4 ideas of how you can use Geegeez Gold to try and profit from your horse racing betting. Those overall caveats, whatever set of tools you use, of course, you know, racing is tough. That's part of the challenge. It is a challenge. I like trying to solve the puzzle. That's where I get a buzz. And trying to keep the game kind of fun. You can, obviously it can be fun, enjoyable and profitable, but they're not mutually exclusive, and trying to have fun and enjoy the game is not a bad foundation starting point, and this set of tools can help you do that, especially if you like trying to solve the puzzle, if you like being right, if you want to try and understand the game more, try to work out why races, or what happens in races and why, and trying to predict the results and how they'll be run and everything else. And this excellent bit of kit, especially the race cards, which I'll get onto in a moment, may help you do just that. And hopefully kind of 3 or 4 of the ideas I'm about to talk through may help you get the best out of any trial period with Geegeez Gold. Or, as I've said in previous videos, you can also register as a free registered user and get access to some daily access to various different bits that Matt makes for free also. So hopefully, or makes accessible for free for registered users. So hopefully I say something which may help you. The starting point, I suppose, is that there's a lot of racing. It can at times feel all a bit too much. And with a piece of kit like this, you can kind of find yourself flailing around and not knowing where to look, what to do. It can be, at times it can appear like there's too much information. It's hard to know where to start. And that's the case with whatever you use, I think, and whatever approach you take to racing. But at the same time, I think it's pretty hard to be profitable long run, and that's obviously linked to having fun as well, without putting some time in and without having some knowledge and some realization that the game is meant to be tough and there are no shortcuts. Well, certainly not that I've found, but do shout if you've found any, to profiting from horse racing in the long term. It generally takes a little bit of effort, and Geegeez Gold is one of those superb bits of kit which can help you have access to all kinds of information and help you save a lot of time because of how it's presented and how you can access it. But like I said, unless you have an approach or work a way towards an approach, there are at times it can appear a bit too much. So there's kind of 3 or 4 strategies, I suppose, you could take as a way in, and I'll get rid of my face at this point so you can kind of see the full screen in front of you. Hopefully clicking that button has done the job. And I keep looking to my right because I've written some notes down. So the first thing to do, or the first thing you could do, I should say, is you could specialize in a race type. Now for me, that's 3-mile handicap chasers, which my blog Racing to Profit, I kind of started that in 2014, seriously kind of analysing or previewing handicap chases, mainly the marathons, and in the last kind of year or so I've tried to also turn myself into some kind of big race class 2+ big handicap expert, which given everything else I do on the blog, I've found a bit challenging and difficult. And looking back over my results over the winter, just gone, it is clear where most of my enjoyment comes from, I suppose, and where my specialism should lay, and that is in jumps races over 2 miles, 7 and further, and mainly handicap chases. There's various reasons why I like specialising in these. That's linked to pace. 64% roughly the last time I dived into some of Matt's tools and had to play around his query tool. I think it's 64% of handicap chases are won by horses who either lead or race prominently. So that's not a bad way into a race. You can also do video analysis, obviously, and watch how a horse jumps and whether they're natural and how they travel and how they jump under pressure. And that's not an edge as such, but the only way you really know that is by watching video replays. And obviously jumping is very important in jumps races, given the amount of energy you can lose at your either both hurdles and fences. And of course, you rarely over 3 miles can get away with not staying, whereas over kind of 2 miles, 2 miles, 4, depending on how the race is run, the number of runners, the class of some of the horses in it, a 2 miler may be able to get away with a bit further. A kind of mid-distance horse may be able to get away running over a bit shorter, etc. But in 3 mile races, obviously that assessing stamina and whether you think a horse will stay or not is another string to the bow. So that's just me. You might be someone who likes flat racing. You may like sprint handicaps. You may like middle distance races, smaller fields, races round a bend. You name it. There are many different types. You might be 2-year-old, unraced 2-year-old races, whatever race you like analysing and like looking at. And part of my own personal liking for chases and jumps race in particular, I suppose, stems from the fact that with 3 mile races they go on for longer, so I've got more to watch, and I've got, having done a load of work and a load of research for an hour or whatever, I can actually have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes enjoying watching it and watching the drama and the story unfold in a bit more slow motion than a 5 furlong sprint, for example. But there'll be some of you watching, listening to this, who love sprint handicaps, for example. So that's just an idea. Now, if you specialise, your starting point is obviously going every day or the evening before, whenever you like to look, or just at weekends or festivals or whatever, is looking at those races. So you're going through. Now, I generally avoid class 5 chases and kind of mainly class 3 and up, but kind of summer jumps is more class 4 kind of marathon 3 mile plus chases. And you can specialise and go in within the race card and just assess all the information, go through every horse, pick up that challenge, I suppose, of wanting to become an expert, getting to grips with all the different aspects of a race card with your starting point of specialising with a certain race. And certainly that to give some focus and some daily focus and to feel like you're not being overwhelmed, picking on that kind of a race type may be no bad idea. And then you can click through the Instant Expert, for example, which this looks at horses proven in conditions. This is a chase, for example, and this is a handicap chase. You can see, who's proven in the ground. This is actually good to soft through to soft. I think it might be soft now, actually. The other great thing about Geegeez race cards, you can change the going. Obviously, if it changes the evening before or on the day, there's class, there's distance, there's field size. You can click the place tabs. So, you can click through different horses, use the Instant Expert. There's a profiler tool here as well, so you can go through and you can pick different horses, the jockeys, trainers. You can see, if we click Boys on Tour, for example, here, you can see what boxes he's ticked, and the light blue are the kind of today's conditions, so you can have a look and see all of that. So you can really get to grips, and also you can do the same with jockey, trainer, sire, you name it. There's full form filters where you can go through each horse here, and then you can dig and you can look at all of their form here. You can look at how this then what feature and how races have worked out. etc., etc. You can open up all these different races, look through and do various different things. So that idea of becoming an expert and getting to know a pool of horses isn't a bad place to start. And like I said, you can use all of that to flick through and take your time, use any trial period, money back guarantee period or whatever, or if you're a free registered user with Geegeez, to flick through all of that. Then you've got pace, and you've got the pace maps. You've got sample sizes and where it can be. And you can see you can get a feel, and this, pace, using pace is vitally important in any race that you look at, and maybe is one of the underused elements still, possibly with recreational punters. But just using pace maps and working out who will be near the front. Will they get an easy lead? Can they stay there? Who's racing prominently? Will they stay there? Even just that assessment will put you light years ahead of most punters out there, in my opinion. Working out whether or not a horse may get a soft lead, will that be an advantage? Is that an advantage around this course and distance? Will it be better to be held up? You can get a feel for where a horse is going to be at any one time. If you've watched some of my other videos, especially at York this week, looking at the pace maps for sprint handicaps, they're obviously very useful as well. So you've got all this information. You've got the racing post rating information. You can click on the horse drop down, so you can see the horse's official mark, official rating, where they were. The racing post ratings, which I've used increasingly more in the last couple of years, which Matt now has in Geegeez Gold. I like figures that are big and kind of ahead of marks or above official handicap marks, because that indicates they may be well handicapped, etc., etc. So that's an idea. There's separate ideas linked to that, of course. Well, all very well and good. You've got your specialist race that you're going to become an expert in. You've got this excellent set of tools before you. Obviously, then there's an approach to what you do with that. And like I said, there's instant expert, there's the pace tabs, there's clicking on each horse. With any horse you look at, I suppose you're asking of that horse a couple of questions which are linked. Is there more to come from that horse? So are they unexposed, or do you think they're yet to show their best? And that type of horse can be one to focus on. And or, which is linked to that, is the horse well handicapped? So in a race like this I'm looking at here, arguably Uptown Harry is the only unexposed, in the sense that I think this is only his 7th chase. The rest of them have had a fair few runs in handicap. So asking that mark of, are they well handicapped, you're looking at their handicap mark as it is compared to their historical achievements. But on the other side, you're saying, is there more to come? So Uptown Harry 0 from 6, is there more to come from him? He's age 7, he's lightly raced over fences. Should there be more to come from him? Yes. Are they lightly raced, and are they then going to be able to show that in today's conditions and race setup and class? And does the horse have the class? That's another question, always worth asking, and I try and ask throughout any of my analysis. And how you judge that, whether that's obviously if they've achieved or performed at a higher class. So Boys on Tour may be an example. This is a class 4. He's won a class 3, so form at a higher class. Racing post rating can indicate some kind of class, especially against their mark. Then you've got the then what feature down here, which I use. Hot form. Have horses been running in races which have worked out well? Have they been in and around subsequent winners? Does that indicate they were up against horses who were also fit and in form, open to progress, about to strike? Because obviously not every race that a horse runs in will be as competitive to some of its others. So this win here, his last win a few starts ago, he beat Cracking Destiny, who came into it rated 130. And Malfi Doug, who loves it round Perth, also rated 132. I can click, no, I don't want to do that, sorry. I can click Future Form, this button up here, and I can see what they've done since. So Cracking Destiny on the next start, won their next start of 132, going up to a mark then of 139. So he was bumping into an in-form, pretty well handicapped horse with a touch of class, and he beat Cracking Destiny there. And Malfi Doug won a couple of starts next time of 129 going up to 135. So it's all about building a picture and a context of the form you're looking at, and that's where this bit of kit. So like I said, that's specializing in a race. You might not like jumps racing, it might be flat racing, but using that instant expert pace tab, The then what feature, looking at every horse, looking at hot form. There's different trainer. You can look at trainer form, record at tracks. You can click on the trainer. You can dig into their record, today's course, distance, age, you name it, or do lots of different things. There's plenty to explore, and like I said, it can all feel a bit like, whoa, goodness, there's a lot there. But by focusing on a certain race type, that may help as a way in and a way to get to grips with the tools. So that's one idea, and hopefully I've said something there and kind of elaborated a little bit on my approach in particular with chasers, but that's probably another video for another day where I can go into more depth. But I've said a few things there about what you can flick through on these: the Instant Expert, the Pace tab, looking at the different horses one by one, the then what feature, asking certain questions of every horse as you flick through. Is there more to come, and or are they well handicapped, and working out how you assess that, and these tools help do that. Like I said, with the then what feature, the racing post rating, obviously the class of races they may have run in. Do they have the class? Are they lightly raced? Is there more to come? Do you think they're well handicapped? Which is obviously important when looking at handicap races, and simply asking those questions and trying to answer them. That's even before you get into will they like the ground? Will they handle the track? Do they like the track? Will they stay? Which are obviously questions, and the Instant Expert helps to answer. So that's that, and I've spent 16 minutes, and I know I can talk forever, so hopefully that's something there. So that's one strategy you can take. The other, let's flick through to York's fairly competitive, I suppose. The other, let's just take Newmarket for an example. The other is daily. Now, you might have different codes or whatever, or places you want to focus even when doing what I'm about to say. But the other approach is a kind of daily approach, which you can take the evening before, morning, or whenever you like looking at races, is to just go through Instant Expert and look for races which you think are uncompetitive and horses that are proven in conditions, possibly at an each way price, where other horses have to prove themselves in conditions. Now, what I would say with that, if you're focusing on flat handicaps, I would advise doing that in races open to horses aged 4 and older. Now, this is a 3-year-old only handicap. Naturally, every horse in this race, given how lightly raced they are here, is open to stacks of improvement. Whether they show that in this race or when they show it may only be a question of time for a lot of these. That makes analysis harder, especially with a tool like Instant Expert, which is comparing the horse's historical success against race conditions. But in these races with 3-year-olds, or any flat race that's got a lot of 3-year-olds in, or 2-year-olds, for example, the horses may not have shown their best yet. And just looking at horses that are proven in conditions is trickier, because plenty of horses in this race, for example, may well improve for today's conditions, having not shown much before. There'll be horses stepping up in trip that will relish the mile, horses with a bit of cutting ground, horses that just naturally open to improvement because of their age, etc. So I would possibly focus, and as you can see here, there's lots of greyed out boxes because horses simply haven't run in handicaps. Lots of these are making handicap debut. What a minefield. Although I think I like the Beckett horse in this race, but whether 7-2 is too short, but that's an aside. Anyone who's read today's blog on Thursday, 13th of May, will have some notes around this particular race, because she's a stats qualifier against one of my Rafe Beckett trainer angles, but I'm digressing there. But you can just click the Instant Expert, and I want to find one of those examples. That's a novice's stakes. This is a 3-year-old race also. I probably should have looked right. So here we go. So now we've got a handicap open to 4-year-old and older. So we don't have any of those unexposed, lightly raced 3-year-olds. Now, if you want to have as an approach, as a strategy, Instant Expert, where you go through every day and you pick out the 4-year-old plus handicaps, and you might have a certain class, maybe lower class or higher class, or maybe just all of them, and you're looking at horses proven in conditions, you can change the ground. Now, if this dried out and it was good through to good to soft, you can see the horses that have winning form in these conditions. So Calor, you can see who's proven at the class. You can change to higher classes, have some of these horses actually proven themselves in a higher class, for example. That's always worth a look. You can look at the handicaps. You can look at flat turf handicaps. Obviously, this is a flat turf race, so not much has proven themselves on winning form here. You can see Hoardridge Flyer has got a course win at least, which might be of relevance. And you can see there, when you click the place tab, Holdridge Flyer in terms of place against conditions, lots of green there. So in flat handicaps at the class, course, distance, field size, etc., he's clearly proven from a place perspective. He's £7 below his last winning mark. I haven't flicked through any of these races before, but as an example, as a way in, because of he is proven and there's lots of red and lots of greyed out boxes, and in handicaps plenty of these are unproven. That would indicate in this race plenty of these are open to improvement though, because they may not have raced in handicaps in these conditions and they may well improve for it. So there's that to keep in mind. But this is the kind of thing I'm looking for as a way in. Clicking through Instant Expert and seeing if you can see any kind of swathes of green and amber in kind of 4-year-old only plus 4-year-old plus handicaps in particular, that may just stand out. This is obviously another 3-year-old. Let's try and look at York. This is a 4-year-old only handicap. Obviously, this is very competitive. This is the 5 furlong sprint, but I'm only highlighting this as an example. So good to soft, it might be drying out. Let's say good through to good to soft. And again, you're looking to see if anything really jumps out. Obviously, Copper Knight's ticked a lot of boxes there. His legs aren't getting any younger, but he's well handicapped and he's clearly suited to conditions. You can click the win, you can click the place, and you're looking for lots of green, possibly in a race with lots of red. You could argue, as you may expect, this is a York Class 2 handicap. This race may be too competitive. The likes of Count d'Orsay clearly tick a lot of boxes. Venturous ticks a lot of kind of each way boxes, because I've got the place box ticked. But that kind of thing. There's another 4-year-old handicap here again. There's lots of green here. And so on and so forth, but you can see winning conditions. So yeah, you're looking for those races, and that's not a bad process. The win and place here would suggest this race is rather competitive, as you'd expect. I'm not sure, I'm kind of recording this live. I'm not sure if Salisbury have any handicaps. Yes, they've got an apprentice handicap down here, 4-year-olds and older. So no really unexposed 3-year-olds in the race. And again, this is on soft ground, so you can kind of take a look at all form, who's proven in soft. There's 3 horses here with winning form in soft. There's 1 horse, if we look at flat, there's 1 horse here with proven flat handicaps on the turf, winning form in soft handicaps in the class, for example. So that might be a way in. You can click the place. You can see James Park Woods has kind of placed plenty in conditions, including the course, £6 below last winning mark. So that kind of thing. And you would flick through every day looking for standout horses like that. Possibly I could find better examples, like I said, where there is more red and lots where there might just be 1 or 2 horses with a line of green, and that does happen, and that can be your way in. Take a closer look at the horse, then flick through the pace if you want, where they may be, various other different bits, look at whether or not the trainer's in form, so on and so forth. You can click down the trainer icon, you can see their last 30 days, are the horses running well, etc. So that's a different way in using that Instant Expert. Hopefully that's clear. The other one, and I could just stay on Salisbury here, is to use pace. So we've done 2 things so far: specialize in a race and just use that race type as a way in. Just use the Instant Expert, and personally I would look at handicaps for horses if you wanted flat handicaps for 4-year-old and older, or you've of course got handicap hurdles or handicap chases, and use the Instant Expert to see who may jump out. The other way in is you could become a pace expert if you wanted. There's these heat maps here, there's the graphic, and you could, this is a novice's stake, so plenty of these unraced, but the Bridger horse darted off and dead last time out. He may lead this time. Will put his experience to good use. I have no idea on his odds, probably quite short if a last time out winner. But again, you can just sort this pace map by who's going to lead. So the Charlie Hills horse here, this is based on historic running stars. Again, this is a novice stake, so these horses are quite lightly raced and a few unknowns. And some of these will have better, now they're more experienced and know how to race, might go further forward. But certainly Jim Crowley may get a soft lead. So that's a way in, looking for those horses that you think may get an easy lead. is a decent way into creating a daily shortlist before then taking a closer look. And again, it might be handicaps are better for that sort of thing, but Lord Protector here, he looks like he might get an easy lead, especially in small fields. I always think being at the front is kind of a decent place to be if the jockey's decent and can dictate. No out and out front runners here, that might be one to avoid. Is there any jockey in this is going to be switched on to this and try and steal it from the front? There are different things you can think about. That's another novice fillies race, or novice race. Here we've got a 3-year-old handicap. So you can sort by the pace map. You can sort by the draw. Now Salisbury is kind of right hand, isn't it? So the one draw will be kind of on the far side as you're looking with your TV screens. One up against the inside rail, depending on the direction. So one would be down the rail down here. Is there anything that's gonna, I think, but do check that depending on the course and the distance and the stalls positions. That's always worth checking as well. But you can kind of see if there's going to be any pace, who normally leads. Beautiful Crown, is he going to be able to get out from his draw and dictate? Possibly. Not necessarily loads of pace. Does the winner come from here? So that's the kind of thing you can go do. Flick through the race cards and assess who's going to race prominently and lead, and whether or not you think they may stay there. So that is certainly another of the kind of 4 ways in that you can use. And like I said, all these strategies and ideas are just about trying to have some focus on what you can look at. And just so you've got a daily plan or daily approach, which also helps you get to used to the tools as you go through. And time is precious for us all. Like I said, specializing has helped me, but you might specialize in becoming an instant expert with those races discussed, or a pace expert. Pace wins the race, trying to identify those lone front runners. So, you can do that with, any of these race cards here. Like I said, both for the flat, for the jumps, I highlighted the pace map here for this 3-mile chase. Uptown Harry will likely lead. A few of these others will then slot in behind. So, there's different things, and using pace can be very important. So that's an idea. Obviously, you've got, with any of these pace maps, there is information depending on... if I just look at this pace map, you can do this heat map here. This is to York and the sprint. And depending on this is a fairly small sample size, but you can change the going, you can change the field size, handicaps or all races. You can see good through to good to soft. It can pay to race prominent and you can stay there, or to be a bit more patiently ridden, etc. So you can use these heat maps. Obviously green can be good, red can be bad, especially races with turning tracks. So looking especially some all-weather tracks. And of course Matt, with his free report, he sent out a report on the draw and some pace biases with a handy cut out and keep sheet. So you could take that pace approach and just focus on, I don't know how many draw bias and pace biases there were that Matt highlighted, but plenty, and you could just use those as your way in and then use the pace maps for that information and dovetail those two things together. So that's an idea. But like I said, you can flick through, go through the pace reports, who's going to be near the front, do the heat maps, and historical results suggest that it's beneficial over that course and distance to lead. And just focusing on those and making a short list of those potential runners. The final thing I will say is you can use these reports as a way in. There's this report link up here. And you can, there's many different ones here. I would, if you wanted to use the kind of stats-based approaches and the way in, I would, pick, you might like trainer jockey combo stats. So you can click on that report. And this is, you can look at today's or tomorrow's, so you can get ahead of the game. You can do all different kind of filters up here. You can just do in handicaps. You can do in the last 14 days, who's in form in the last 14 days, course record, all these different things here. So you might use trainer jockey combo as a way in. All these different reports here, you could pick a couple, which is your starting point before then identifying a horse from those stats reports and then going to look at the race card. So that's another option. The one, if it was me, I might look at hot form. Big fan of hot form. I would strongly argue if you don't do pace analysis and you don't use kind of hot form and then what features, applying those two things to your racing analysis and punting will dramatically help improve results, in my opinion. I can look back at the last 45 days here, for example, sort by wins, win percentage, and I can look at races that have worked out well, and you can then dive into these hot races. So I can look at this hot race here, and I can, look at the result, and we can see who's done well since. The front three in this have won 2, 3, 4 between them. The fifth has won, so this would arguably be a hot race. JJ Quinn's horse has only run one since, but this kind of example where you get, say that's War Verge, let's say he hadn't run, and let's say the two in front of him had won 3 between them since, he had yet to run, you would home in on him because he's not going to always bump into a competitive handicap hurdle such as this. But you can just see the future form. He won again. The winner won again the 31st of March. These two won again 16th of March, 6th of May, and then this one ran. So these three had actually run before him, before he ran on the 22nd of April. He did go off 11 to 4. No idea on his morning odds, but this was clearly, he had been in a hot race, and on his next Perth, he bolted up by 6 lengths. So that's an example. Hammond's horse at Wolves then won at 5 to 1 over a staying trip. That was 28th of April. So this lot had already won by the time he came out. So you can see the power of hot form there, and homing in on horses that have been running in races that have produced subsequent winners. And that gives you an idea that it was a competitive race, that they may be well handicapped from their mark they're on, depending on what those opponents have gone on to do. And they may well be running in a race today which is nowhere near as competitive as I bring my face back. Hello. So I've gone on for half an hour there. There are 4 ideas which hopefully I have said, as always, something of use, of interest, to help you get the best of Geegeez Gold. Whether or not you take advantage of the special offer, the link of which is below this video, or one of Matt's normal offers, 30 days for £1, but it's a heavy discount for access during this flat season 2021. Whether or not you click the link below that to become a free registered user, and I do not know why you wouldn't do that, especially if you like solving the puzzle yourself, because you can get access to a few races a day and race cards and the Internet Expert and the Pace and various other different tools each day, totally for free. All you've got to do is register, and that will help you enjoy the game even more, because trying to understand how a race is going to be run and why something performs as it does is just superb for puzzle solving enthusiasts like myself. But yes, I've talked about specializing in a certain race and diving in that way and using all the tools and getting to grips with everything. The Instant Expert, using that with handicaps on the flat, 4-year-old and older would be my own personal starting point for that. If you want to do that for the reasons stated, you could become a Pace Wins the Race expert and using the Pace tabs, or using the reports, trainer jockey combo or hot form as your starting point and as your way in, and picking 1 or 2 of those maybe as an approach, as a strategy each day, may help you get the best out of this excellent piece of kit, which I'd be lost without, and help you enjoy the game even more. So if any of that interests you, or hopefully even if you might be a Geegeez Gold existing user who's found this video useful also, hopefully. But yes, do check out the various links below this video. So hit the subscribe button to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, so you can be notified of future videos. But with that said, I've probably been going on for far too long. But as always, any questions on anything, do post below the video or head over to my blog, racingtoprofit.co.uk, and say hello on one of the daily posts also. And yeah, get involved. What a great game horse racing is. But with that said, yeah, hopefully you may give this piece of kit a go, and hopefully with some of the ideas I've discussed, it would help you get the best out of this and the best out of your enjoyment and profit from horse racing longer term. But with that said, yeah, I will be quiet now. Thanks for watching, and until the next time, bye for now.